In the depths of a hidden bunker, deep within the lunar base of Earth, the leaders of the human resistance stood gathered around a massive holographic display. General Sarah Clark, the tactical genius who had led humanity's final push for freedom, surveyed the assembled commanders with a steely gaze. Their mission was clear: the galaxy was at war, and humanity was no longer a helpless pawn. The Shadow Fleet would be their weapon, and it would strike from the void. The fleet had been in secret construction for over 2 decades, far beyond the scope of what the Alien Alliance had ever imagined. The materials and technologies used were a mixture of stolen alien tech and humanity's own innovations, built under the cover of classified space programs. Using quantum cloaking, advanced propulsion systems, and EMP shielding, these ships were designed to be unseen, unheard, and lethal. There was no room for failure. "The fleet is ready," Clark said, her voice calm but carrying the weight of years of struggle. "The Shadow Fleet will be the first and last word in this war. We'll hit them where they least expect it, their supply lines, their command centers. We'll break them before they even realize we're here." On the holographic display, a dark silhouette of the fleet loomed over a star map, its coordinates locked in, poised to move. Each ship was a marvel of human engineering, a ghost in the stars. Thousands of ships lay dormant across the galaxy, scattered, awaiting activation. Some were hidden within asteroid fields, others deep in the cold void of space, undetectable by any known alien technology. But the first target was the most crucial. The Alien Alliance's communications hub, the Nexus Station, was responsible for directing fleets across hundreds of systems. It was here, at the heart of their operations, that the first blow must be struck. Clark's hand hovered over the control panel as she gave the order, a single command that would alter the course of galactic history. "Activate the fleet," she said. The silence in the room was deafening as the crew waited. Within moments, every ship across the galaxy came to life, cloaking shields engaging, engines humming with quiet power. It was a masterpiece of technology, but it was the humans behind the fleet that would make it unstoppable. Back in the darkness of space, the fleet slipped away, one ship at a time, vanishing from radar and enemy sensors. They moved like shadows, crossing vast distances in near silence. Their first strike was calculated, precise, and deadly. The alien forces had no idea what was coming. As the fleet reached the Nexus Station, their first mission was clear: disable all communication capabilities. The station, built into an asteroid field on the edge of a black hole, was an enormous structure with millions of miles of defense arrays, shield generators, and drone stations. The alien forces here were formidable, but humanity had an edge they could never have predicted. Using their advanced cloaking systems, the fleet moved into position without a single alien ship noticing. Then, with perfect synchronization, the human ships launched their assault, hitting key power nodes and communication relays with pinpoint accuracy. The station's defenses fell in a matter of minutes, and the once imposing alien stronghold was reduced to a burning husk of twisted metal and shattered machinery. The Shadow Fleet had struck, and the galaxy was on the brink of an era it could never have imagined. The galaxy was still reeling from the destruction of Nexus Station when the true scope of humanity's rise began to unfold. The Alien Alliance, reeling from the loss of its communications hub, scrambled to assess the situation. Their inability to detect the attackers fueled paranoia among the leadership, and fear began to spread through the ranks. But in the quiet depths of space, humanity was already planning its next move. The human resistance's intelligence operations had been working in the shadows for years, infiltrating alien military strongholds with the utmost secrecy. Their networks were vast, running through countless systems without alerting the enemy to their presence. In a remote system on the edge of the alien-controlled space, a human agent had infiltrated one of the most heavily guarded alien military facilities. For months, he had lived among them, gathering information piece by piece, building up to the moment of impact. Lieutenant Marcus Delacroix, one of the Resistance's finest agents, had been waiting for this moment. He had spent the past 6 months in a Black Ops mission inside the alien command center on Nilora, a desolate, war-torn planet. His job was simple: find a way to steal the invasion plans that would wipe out the remaining human colonies. If the aliens succeeded, humanity would be destroyed, and the Shadow Fleet would have no chance of striking again. The planet's surface was an unforgiving wasteland, but Delacroix had become one with its harsh landscape. His disguise was flawless, and his knowledge of alien military codes was unparalleled. Every move he made was calculated, down to the smallest detail. He had gained the trust of the alien officers, who considered him little more than a lowly human technician. They had no idea that he was about to turn the tide of the war. The breakthrough came late one evening. Delacroix had managed to access the primary server in the heart of the command center. He bypassed multiple layers of security protocols, his heart racing with each step. As he finally downloaded the encrypted files containing the invasion plans, an unsettling thought crossed his mind. The timing couldn't have been worse. The enemy had already begun assembling fleets for the invasion, and their primary target was Earth itself. His hands shook as he transferred the data to a hidden memory core, his thoughts racing. He had no time to waste. The files would contain the full details of the Alien Alliance's next massive assault, a multi-front attack on Earth's colonies, designed to completely neutralize the human threat. The data was worth everything, every risk, every sacrifice, every ounce of humanity's hope. Suddenly, alarms began to blare, breaking the silence of the command center. Delacroix knew his time was up. In one swift motion, he erased all traces of his intrusion and activated his emergency escape protocol. The facility was on lockdown, but he had already planned his route out. The narrow corridors and automated sentinels would pose little challenge to someone with his training. As he sprinted through the facility, a final transmission sent from his wrist communicator confirmed that the data was intact. Within moments, Delacroix was out of the compound, sprinting across the barren surface of Nilora to a concealed drop-off point where a covert extraction team waited. He barely managed to escape as the alien forces launched a search for the intruder. Back aboard a concealed human warship in orbit, Delacroix handed over the stolen data. The mission had been a success, but the stakes had risen. Humanity now had everything it needed to strike. First, they would hit the heart of the alien military. With the invasion plans in hand, the Shadow Fleet was poised for their next decisive move. The silence of space became deafening once more, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming next. The stolen invasion plans burned a hole in humanity's collective consciousness. The alien empire, secure in their belief that Earth was a distant, insignificant world, had never suspected that humans would be capable of such a blow. But with the intel now in their hands, the Shadow Fleet was ready to capitalize on their moment of power. The first phase of humanity's retaliation had been completed, and the galaxy was no longer a place where their enemies could move with impunity. As the data from Delacroix's mission was decrypted and analyzed, it became clear just how close humanity had come to extinction. The invasion plan was vast, an overwhelming show of force, with fleets from multiple alien races coordinating to destroy the last remnants of the human resistance. Earth, along with its surrounding colonies, was to be obliterated within months. But the aliens had underestimated one thing: humanity's determination and its ability to strike when least expected. General Clark, now more focused than ever, called together her top advisors and fleet commanders. "We don't just survive this," she said, her voice steady but laced with cold purpose. "We make them wish they'd never crossed us." The Shadow Fleet's next mission was one of perfect precision: cripple the aliens' ability to wage war on humanity, sever their communications, and destroy their most vital resource depots. The fleet, still unseen in the vastness of space, split into multiple strike groups. Each group was tasked with a specific target: planetary depots, energy sources, and military outposts. The Shadow Fleet's tactics were simple but brutal: strike hard, strike fast, and leave nothing behind. The fleet would be in and out before the aliens could even react. The first strike came without warning. A convoy of alien supply ships, carrying fuel and weaponry for the invasion, was ambushed at the edges of a gas giant's atmosphere. The Shadow Fleet, using their unparalleled cloaking technology, descended from the blackness of space like a gathering storm. Alien ships, powerful but unprepared for this kind of attack, were torn apart in moments. Silent explosions rippled across the vacuum as the convoy's fuel tanks ignited in spectacular bursts. Within minutes, nothing remained but scattered debris. There were no survivors. The second strike followed close behind. A heavily fortified alien military outpost on the moon of a gas giant was next. The Shadow Fleet emerged from the darkness, launching a volley of EMP missiles that disabled the outpost's defense systems. The humans moved quickly, infiltrating the outpost's control center and planting destructive devices that would obliterate it from within. The alien forces stationed there had no chance to respond before the base was reduced to ruins, their supplies and research gone in a flash. The third and most audacious strike was aimed at a critical alien weapons factory on a nearby moon. This facility produced a vast portion of the alien armaments that fueled their war machine. The Shadow Fleet attacked in the dead of night, slipping past the heavy defenses of the factory. Once inside, the humans initiated a devastating sabotage campaign. Explosions rippled across the factory as entire production lines were destroyed. Weapon stocks were scattered in flames, and vital components were dismantled. By the time the alien fleets received any intelligence about the attacks, it was too late. The Shadow Fleet had already struck again and again, leaving behind nothing but smoldering remains and untraceable silence. Reports of human attacks spread across alien territories like wildfire, igniting fear among commanders who realized that the humans were not only capable of resistance, they were capable of terrifying, coordinated strikes that threatened the entire galactic order. The galaxy had begun to change. The alien alliance's confidence had been shattered. The Shadow Fleet, once a whispered legend, was now a terror the galaxy would never forget. Humanity was no longer just a nuisance to the galaxy's ruling powers. They were a force to be reckoned with. The void, once a place of cold indifference, had become the humans' weapon, and it was only the beginning of their war for survival. The aliens would soon learn the true meaning of fear. The alien alliance was in chaos. Commanders who had once been certain of their superiority over humanity now found themselves scrambling for answers. In the wake of the Shadow Fleet's precision strikes, their carefully laid plans for the invasion of Earth were in tatters. Their communications networks, once thought impenetrable, had been severed. Key supply chains and military outposts were obliterated, leaving their war efforts paralyzed. But perhaps the most terrifying part for the alien forces was the realization that they had never even seen the attackers. The Shadow Fleet's existence had become the ultimate enigma, silent, invisible, and unstoppable. In a high-security command room on the alien homeworld, the leaders of the Alliance convened in an emergency summit. Fleet Admiral Alas, a calculating and ruthless leader, paced in front of a holographic map of the galaxy. His numerous subordinates and advisors watched in stunned silence, their faces pale with fear. "We have lost contact with 5 of our most important military sectors," Admiral Alas stated coldly, his voice cutting through the tension. "The communications network is down. Our supply lines have been shattered, and we have no idea who is behind this." One of the younger officers, a nervous-looking alien with bright blue skin, spoke up. "It can't be human forces. They don't have the technology to strike us with such precision. We have the most advanced fleet in the galaxy. No one could have infiltrated our systems this deeply without detection. Admiral Aylas turned toward him, his eyes narrowing. You think this is some kind of coincidence? You think this is a random series of attacks by a ragtag group of rebels? Think again. He slammed his fist against the table. This is humanity. We underestimated them, and now they're hunting us. A realization dawned on the assembled leaders. This was no ordinary resistance. What they were facing was something far more dangerous. A single thought emerged from the chaos of their minds. Humanity had learned to fight in the shadows. They had created something that could stand toe-to-toe with the might of the alien alliance. Back in the darkness of space, the Shadow Fleet continued to operate with surgical precision. They were not just attacking, they were systematically dismantling the alien war machine, piece by piece. Each mission was more daring than the last, each victory building on the last. And yet, the humans remained invisible. Their technology was so advanced that it rendered even the most sophisticated alien tracking systems useless. The fleet had become a ghost, a terror that could strike anywhere, at any time. But the humans weren't done yet. The next target was the heart of the alien fleet's command structure, a massive mothership that had been positioned at the edge of their territories as a deterrent to any potential threats. It was a formidable force, capable of commanding thousands of ships, but it was also slow and cumbersome, a perfect target for the Shadow Fleet. General Clark, aboard the command ship of the Shadow Fleet, watched as the fleet moved into position. This was the moment of truth. If they could cripple the mothership, it would send a message to the galaxy that humanity was not only capable of survival, but capable of domination. This will be our most daring attack yet, Clark said, her voice unwavering. We don't just need to hurt them, we need to break them. The plan was simple, but bold. The Shadow Fleet would use their cloaking technology to infiltrate the mothership's defenses, planting disabling charges that would cripple its central command core. From there, the humans would launch a surprise strike that would decimate the heart of the alien fleet. As the Shadow Fleet moved in, cloaked and invisible, the alien commanders remained oblivious. They had no idea that their invincible flagship was about to become their greatest downfall. The humans were already inside, and once the charge was detonated, nothing would stop them from striking again. The first revelation had come. Humanity was no longer the hunted. They were the hunters. The alien alliance, now on the edge of panic, would learn a painful lesson. When you push humanity to the brink, you awaken something far more dangerous than a mere resistance. You awaken a storm, and it was just getting started. The explosion that crippled the alien mothership reverberated through the entire fleet. In a matter of minutes, the once mighty flagship of the alien armada, the Sathorax, was reduced to a shattered wreck, its command center a chaotic wreckage. The Shadow Fleet had struck at the heart of the alien military, and the galaxy now bore witness to the consequences of underestimating humanity's resolve. The destruction of the mothership sent shockwaves through the alien alliance. Fleet commanders scrambled to pick up the pieces, and panic set in. With their most advanced warship disabled, the alliance was thrown into disarray. They had relied too heavily on the Sathorax to maintain control of their fleets, and now the central command structure was in chaos. The alien forces, once united in their desire to crush humanity, found themselves on the verge of collapse. They had no leader to guide them, no strategy to fall back on. In the aftermath of the attack, General Sarah Clark stood before the commanders of the Shadow Fleet aboard the command ship Vanguard, watching the chaos unfold across the galaxy through the fleet's encrypted communications network. The humans had done it. They had broken the aliens' invincible image. They had sent a message to the galaxy that no one could ignore. Humanity was a force to be reckoned with. The fleet's success was only part of the victory. The destruction of the Sathorax had caused more than just physical damage. It had shattered the myth of the alien empire's dominance. The galaxy now knew that the invincible alien fleets were not unbeatable. This was humanity's moment to strike while their enemies were vulnerable. Clark knew that the Shadow Fleet had the opportunity to turn the tide of the war once and for all. Now is the time to hit them hard, Clark said, turning to her officers. We've destabilized their command. We can't give them time to recover. We need to keep the pressure on. Her voice was cold with determination. The Shadow Fleet had become more than just a weapon. They were the galaxy's hope. The aliens, once believed to be an unstoppable force, were now crippled. Humanity's strategy was no longer just defensive. It was time for them to take the fight to their enemies in full force. Meanwhile, the alien alliance was reeling. Their once dominant fleets were in retreat, and their leadership was scattered. Fleet Admiral Alas, now commanding what remained of their forces, convened an emergency summit with his remaining generals. Their ships, though still powerful, were no match for the guerrilla tactics humanity had perfected. The Shadow Fleet's ability to disappear into the void had become the aliens' worst nightmare. They knew that if they didn't stop the humans soon, the entire empire could fall apart. Alas stood in front of a holographic map of the galaxy, a bead of sweat tracing down his forehead. "The humans are everywhere," he growled. "We can't keep retreating. We need to regroup and crush them before they can gain any more ground. If we don't act now, we'll lose everything." The alien leaders had no choice but to unite against their common enemy. But Clark's next move was already in play. Humanity would not wait for the Alliance to recover. The Shadow Fleet had already begun its next strike, targeting alien war factories that produced the weapons needed to wage their campaigns. These factories, located on remote planets deep within alien-controlled space, were essential to the war effort. The attack on these production sites was swift and deadly. Human ships appeared from the shadows, targeting key infrastructure with deadly accuracy. Alien military leaders could only watch helplessly as their factories burned and their fleets lost critical resources. The Shadow Fleet was no longer just a resistance. It was a force of destruction, unstoppable and relentless. As the alien fleets began to regroup, they were faced with the terrifying truth: humanity was not just fighting to survive. They were fighting to take control of the galaxy, to secure a place among the stars that would never again be threatened. The Shadow Fleet, born from the ashes of their oppression, was now a giant that had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The Alien Alliance, once a vast and powerful empire, was beginning to crumble, and humanity, with its hidden fleet and unyielding will, was the cause. The Alien Alliance, bruised and broken, had finally recognized the depth of their error. Humanity's Shadow Fleet had become a symbol of terror, a reminder that the galaxy was not a place for the strong alone. It was a place where the will to fight could topple even the most powerful empires. But with their backs to the wall, the aliens began to regroup, preparing for their final stand. They knew they had to act quickly or risk losing everything. In the wake of humanity's relentless strikes, Admiral Alas called for an emergency council on the alien homeworld. The fate of the Alliance was in the balance, and it was clear that only a unified, desperate response could save them. "We cannot allow ourselves to be destroyed by a species we once considered insignificant," he declared, his voice steely with resolve. "We must muster every ship, every fleet, and every ally we can find. This is our final chance to crush humanity before they destroy us all." But the mood among the commanders was not one of confidence. Many alien leaders, once dismissive of humanity's potential, now realized they were facing an unprecedented threat. "We underestimated them," one of the high-ranking generals muttered. "They've outsmarted us at every turn, and now they've shown they can cripple our fleets in ways we never imagined." Alas, sensing the fear growing among his subordinates, slammed his fist onto the table. "If we do not act decisively now, we will be wiped out. There will be no recovery, no second chances." His voice was filled with anger, frustration, and an icy fear that he tried desperately to conceal. The council was silent. There was no more room for mistakes. The alien alliance, fractured and splintered, had no choice but to put aside their differences and form a united front against the Shadow Fleet. They began calling in reinforcements from every corner of the galaxy, summoning every fleet, every weapon, and every ally who would stand with them. The stakes had never been higher. Meanwhile, General Clark, fully aware that the alien empire was not finished yet, knew that humanity's next move would have to be calculated and precise. The Shadow Fleet's advantage had always been its ability to strike from the shadows, to keep the enemy guessing, but the aliens were beginning to adapt. They had begun to deploy advanced detection systems, ones designed to pierce the cloaking technology that had been humanity's greatest weapon. "We need to keep them on the back foot," Clark ordered her commanders. "Their resources are dwindling, and they're starting to panic. The longer we keep them guessing, the more their cohesion will unravel." Humanity's next operation was planned with military brilliance. The Shadow Fleet would strike at the heart of the alien supply chain, targeting the factories and production facilities where the Alliance's war machines were constructed. These facilities were heavily fortified, but Clark knew they could be infiltrated. She had a new strategy: deception. By planting false intelligence and creating the illusion of a major strike in another system, the Shadow Fleet lured the alien forces into a trap. The humans attacked a series of seemingly insignificant outposts, drawing alien fleets away from their critical supply hubs. Then, as the alien forces responded to the false alarm, the Shadow Fleet slipped into the heart of the alien manufacturing sectors, devastating the factories that powered their military. The attack was swift and brutal, leaving the aliens with no way to replace their losses. As the alien command centers fell into disarray, Clark's fleet moved with unrelenting precision. It was clear that the alien empire was starting to fracture under the pressure. Their fleets, already weakened, had become fragmented. Humanity had given them no time to recover, no time to regroup. Every victory sent a ripple through the Alliance's ranks, shaking their confidence and sowing distrust among their commanders. But as the Shadow Fleet began to press forward, one crucial question remained: would humanity's triumphs be enough to secure lasting peace, or had the Alliance's desperation pushed them to a final cataclysmic war? The galaxy was on the edge, and the reckoning was fast approaching. The moment of truth had arrived. The Shadow Fleet, now more than just a resistance, stood ready to strike the final blow. But would their victory be their salvation, or would the alien alliance unleash a fury they could never have anticipated? The answer would come soon. The galaxy would know, once and for all, whether humanity had the strength to end this war for good. The galaxy had reached a tipping point. Humanity's Shadow Fleet, having struck with relentless precision, had crippled the alien alliance, sending shockwaves through their ranks. But the alliance, though fractured and battered, was not yet finished. Desperation had set in among the alien leadership, and now they had resolved to take their final stand. Their survival depended on one thing: a massive, all-or-nothing offensive against humanity, one that would wipe the Shadow Fleet out once and for all. In the deep reaches of the galaxy, Fleet Admiral Alas stood before a new weapon, one that would strike fear into the hearts of the human resistance. The Zoreth, an ancient warship of unimaginable power, had been hidden for centuries, kept in reserve for a moment just like this. Its weapons were capable of leveling entire fleets, and its cloaking technology was far beyond anything the Shadow Fleet had encountered. It was the Alliance's ultimate trump card. "The humans believe they are the hunters," Alas muttered, staring at the ship's holographic display. "But it's time they learn they are the prey." Alas's forces began to mobilize for what would be the most massive assault the galaxy had ever seen. Every remaining fleet, every last ship under alien command, was called into action. The combined alien forces, though shaken, were united by a common goal: to annihilate humanity once and for all. This would be the final gambit. The aliens knew that if they did not strike quickly and decisively, they would be torn apart by the relentless waves of human attacks. Back on Earth, General Clark and the commanders of the Shadow Fleet watched the alien preparations unfold on their own encrypted networks. They knew the Alliance was planning something catastrophic. Clark's face was a mask of determination as she addressed her officers. "They've gathered everything they have," she said, her voice steady but filled with a quiet intensity. "The Zorath will be their spearhead, but it's more than just a weapon. It's a message. If we don't stop it, they'll have the firepower to wipe us out." The Shadow Fleet was prepared. This final strike had been anticipated, and humanity had spent years preparing for this moment. Their own secret weapon, an experimental fleet of ships equipped with new, more advanced cloaking technology, was ready. The humans had learned from every battle, adapted to every alien tactic, and now their fleet had evolved into something greater than the sum of its parts. Clark's plan was simple: destroy the Zorath before it could make its mark. Without the Zorath, the alien fleet would be nothing more than a scattering of ships vulnerable to human attack. The humans would strike first, silent, swift, and with devastating accuracy. As the Shadow Fleet moved into position, the full scale of the alien assault began to unfold. A massive armada of alien warships, thousands strong, moved through the galaxy's dark corridors, converging on humanity's last known strongholds. The alien ships were powerful, their weapons designed to obliterate entire worlds, but their formation was imperfect. They were vulnerable, stretched thin by the immense distance they had to cover. "Prepare for the strike," Clark ordered. "We need to hit them before they regroup. This is our only chance." The humans began to move, slipping past the edges of the alien fleets with their cloaked ships, positioning themselves for a surprise attack. The Zorath was still hidden within the heart of the alien armada, its weapons charging, preparing for the final annihilation of humanity. But the humans knew that the moment they made their move, all would be lost if the Zorath was not destroyed. The battle began in silence. The Shadow Fleet emerged from the void, attacking with ruthless precision. Alien ships exploded into flames, their shields failing against the devastatingly accurate human firepower. But it was the Zorath that Clark focused on. The massive ship, once thought to be invincible, was now the target. The Shadow Fleet ships moved quickly, evading enemy fire as they pushed forward, targeting the Zorath's weak points with surgical precision. For the first time in the war, the alien forces found themselves unable to react. The humans were too fast, too unpredictable. The Zorath's shields flickered as its engines flared, trying to escape, but it was too late. A series of devastating explosions tore through the ship's hull, and the Zorath, the alien empire's ultimate weapon, began to fall apart. The message was clear: humanity would not be defeated. The alien alliance had underestimated their enemy at every turn, and now the balance of the galaxy had shifted. As the alien armada began to collapse in disarray, the Shadow Fleet closed in, ready to finish what they had started. The final gambit had failed, and the tide of war had turned decisively in humanity's favor. But even as the last alien fleets were retreating into the darkness of space, Clark knew this wasn't over. The aliens would not simply surrender. The war had reached its endgame, and humanity was ready for the final confrontation. The final blow to the Zorath had shattered the heart of the alien alliance. As the massive warship crumbled in the void, the alien fleet faltered, their remaining ships retreating in disarray. The once mighty empire had been brought to its knees by humanity's unrelenting resolve, their technological might, and their ability to fight from the shadows. The war, which had begun with humanity fighting for survival, was now nearing its end, and the galaxy had changed forever. General Sarah Clark stood on the bridge of the Vanguard, her gaze fixed on the displays showing the collapsing alien forces. Her face was a mixture of exhaustion and triumph. Knowing that the mission had been a success, but that the war was not yet finished. The alien forces still held key strongholds, and there was no telling how far they would go to preserve their empire. "General, we've crippled their command structure," Captain Yara said, her voice filled with cautious optimism. "Their fleets are scattering. The Zorath was their last hope, and we've taken it out. The alliance is collapsing." Clark nodded, her eyes narrowing. "This is the moment we've been fighting for. But we can't afford to let them regroup. If we stop now, they'll rebuild, and we'll be right back where we started. We need to finish this, once and for all." Her words were met with a nod from her commanders. Humanity had not only survived, they had become the galaxy's most formidable power, and they were ready to lead. But Clark knew that victory was not just about military might. It was about securing a lasting peace. The alien alliance had long subjugated countless worlds, and now that they were falling apart, humanity had the chance to shape the galaxy in their own image. The Shadow Fleet, having decimated the alien forces, began to move toward the remaining strongholds. Alien defenses were crumbling under the pressure, and it became clear that any hope of maintaining the Empire was fading fast. But Clark knew that the collapse of the alien alliance would leave a vacuum, a power struggle that would shape the future of the galaxy. The question was not just who would emerge victorious, but what kind of galaxy humanity would inherit. Back on Earth, the leaders of the human resistance gathered in a secure command room. Their victory was not only military but ideological. The Shadow Fleet had made humanity's message clear. No longer would they be the prey. No longer would they hide in the shadows. The galaxy would know them for their strength, their unity, and their ability to overcome even the greatest of threats. "The time has come to decide what kind of future we want," President Marshall said, addressing the room of generals, diplomats, and advisors. "The alien empire is crumbling, but that doesn't mean peace is guaranteed. We've seen how fragile the galaxy's power structures are. It's up to us to create something that will endure." Clark's voice cut through the room. "We cannot allow the mistakes of the past to be repeated. We fight for a future where no one, human or alien, has to live in fear of oppression. We have the strength to build a new order, one of peace, freedom, and prosperity." Her words were met with murmurs of agreement. The humans had become the galaxy's new power, but their goal was not domination, it was rebuilding. The alien empire, with all its cruel and oppressive tactics, had been overthrown. But humanity would not replace one tyranny with another. Instead, they would lead through diplomacy, strength, and the desire to create a lasting peace among the stars. The Shadow Fleet began its final push, heading toward the remaining strongholds of the alien alliance. There, they would face the last pockets of resistance, but Clark knew they were on the verge of total victory. The war was coming to a close. The galaxy would soon be free from the grip of the alien empire, and humanity would be its new beacon of hope. As the last remnants of the alien armada scattered into the depths of space, Clark's voice rang through the comms once more. "This is humanity's time. We will not be silenced. We will be the ones who shape the future." With the Shadow Fleet's final victories, the galaxy's new era had begun. The alien empire had been shattered. The fires of war would soon burn out, and the dawn of a new age was on the horizon. Humanity had taken its place among the stars, not as a mere survivor, but as a leader. And the galaxy would never forget the lesson they had learned, the lesson of the Shadow Fleet. When humanity strikes from the void, no power is beyond their reach.